Okay, so the news just dropped that Brandon Sanderson has gotten a movie deal with Apple TV, and this is pretty huge. Brandon has been trying to get his books to be made into movies and TV shows for a long time, and it seems like he's finally got it in a good situation. I think that Apple TV is going to be a really great partner for him. The way that they tend to release shows more intentionally, they're not as focused on producing a quantity of a product as much as the quality. I feel like Apple TV is just generally a good studio for him to be working with. Additionally, he's going to be at the helm of these projects, the man in charge making these. So you kind of get the idea that whatever comes out is going to be accurate, it's going to be really good. But that kind of brings me to why I'm kind of worried about these. Don't get me wrong, I think that these movies, when they come out, are going to be amazing. I will be watching them, and I'm sure that I will be just like in my seat, like shaking with joy. But in terms of Sanderson's involvement, I am less happy because he talked about in this post that he put out a little bit after the announcement was made, how he's going to be taking essentially the next 5 months to focus on writing a screenplay for the first Mistborn movie. What I'm mainly worried about is Brandon Sanderson getting sidetracked. I recently watched a video, which I'll link down in the description, talking about how this person had kind of given up on the Cosmere and how he wasn't really interested anymore. He felt like Brandon Sanderson had started to become a businessman and his books had started to become a product instead of a work of art. He felt that the quality was decreasing, and while I can kind of see where he's coming at, I don't think that I agree as much as he did. However, this announcement kind of made me feel that same way, of feeling like Sanderson might be more interested in maybe the money moves than putting out quality works. And I'm sure that he's very excited. I know that he's very into the idea of making these into a movie, but it seems like he's more worried about putting these out than continuing to write his work. So the 5 months that Brandon is going to be writing this screenplay for the Mistborn movie is time that was previously going to be used writing Ghostbloods 2. He just finished up writing Ghostbloods 1, and we're not getting any of the Ghostbloods books until he's finished the series. He wants to write the whole series and then release them after that. Originally, Ghostbloods was planned to release in December of 2028, but at this rate, between Ghostbloods 1 taking him actually significantly longer to write than he had previously planned, and now him working on these movies, I won't be surprised if we don't end up getting Ghostbloods until 2029 or 2030 at this point, depending on how involved he has to get with this screenplay and with the other movies, and how long it takes him to keep writing the Ghostbloods books. Essentially, I'm worried that this is going to take up too much of his time and that he's going to get sidetracked writing movies and never finish the Cosmere. I think it's clear why he wants to be so involved in these movies. He was sort of an advisor on the Wheel of Time show, which makes sense. He's the guy who kind of wrapped it up, and so they wanted to have him on hand as someone who can kind of give his 2 cents on the show. And it sounds like, from what he said about it, he made a lot of suggestions to them that they didn't really care for, that they didn't end up going with, and he kind of blames the show flopping for that. And that might be true. He definitely knew the series probably a lot better than those showrunners did, and so I think that's why he wants to be so hands-on with his works being made into movies. He wants to make sure that they're done right, that they don't suck like Wheel of Time did, and he wants to make sure that his books look good in every format, which I think is fair and a good thing that he should want. However, he has also stated that he expects the Cosmere writing process to take him until he's 70 or even a little bit older, which is kind of concerning because 70 is kind of getting old. Not to say that I'm too worried about Brandon dying anytime soon, but I just don't really want him to be unable to finish his work. I feel like he should be able to finish it, and I feel like we as the readers who have at this point invested so many pages and hours spent reading his series, I think that we deserve him to finish this story. You know, if you're going to set out to complete this humongous, grand, epic scale of a story, I think that you need to be focused on completing it and not get sidetracked with projects, which is, I fear, what these film projects are going to be, especially if he stays on for Mistborn and then they're talking about a Stormlight Archive show, and I'm sure that they're going to want to do, you know, everything else, Warbreaker and Elantris and all the secret projects. It's going to be a lot, and if he's at the helm of every single one of those, it's going to take a lot of time from him. In the end, I'd rather have a finished Cosmere than a few extra movies. And it feels like, of all the people who should be aware that this might be a concerning thing, it should be Sanderson, because he was the one who had to pick up the wheel of time after Robert Jordan passed, and he had to finish the story. This huge weight of finishing an author's massive tale and kind of being the rookie figuring it out, I would think that he would be worried about that and worried about him putting someone else in that position, but it isn't really something that he seems bothered by it, but I think he should be. All this to say, I fully plan on being at Mistborn in the theaters opening night. Like, it's gonna be amazing. I'm sure that I'm gonna be like quaking in my seat, like amazed. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Whenever I'm reading these books, I'm like imagining what they would look like as an action sequence in a movie. And honestly, if I just stop to think about the fact that we're getting like a Mistborn movie, that we're getting Stormlight Archive TV show, that we're probably gonna get this stuff for a long time, it is really exciting. And when I think about it just like that, I do get excited. But I am just worried that this is gonna take a lot of time from Brandon and that he's not going to focus on continuing to write the story as much as he has been, and it just makes me kind of concerned. I would feel really good if he is in charge of the first Mistborn movie and works alongside with some people who he feels like he can trust to write and direct and everything for the upcoming projects, and that he feels like he can step back and maybe take up that advisor role again where they treat him seriously and make the movies how he wanted them, but that he can also devote the time that he needs to finish the Cosmere. And so yeah, I'll be there. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I'm sure that Sanderson will absolutely deliver with these films, and like I said, I think Apple TV is a wonderful partnership for him. But yeah, that's just me talking about how I am worried that we might not get a finished Cosmere out of this. Let me know how you feel about this adaptation. I'd like to know what everyone else's opinions are. I know a lot of people are really excited about it and just think that this is the greatest thing ever. So I want to know what everyone thinks. I want to hear your opinions and hear your reasons why. I'd also be interested to know what movies or shows you're most excited to get made besides the Mistborn and Stormlight Archive. I would really like a Warbreaker movie. I think that Warbreaker would be really cool. I can't wait to see Nightblood in a movie. Nightblood is one of my favorite Cosmere characters. I think he's so funny, but also like really scary and dark. And I can't wait to see him on the screen, probably in the Stormlight show, and maybe also in a Warbreaker movie. So yeah, let me know.